Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase some little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety, is one of the most important things ever written on this matter. It is of course important to try to reduce day-to-day societal ills. 6529 is not in favor of crime, but these efforts are double-edged swords when they open the door for the edge risk of someone hijacking the whole system. This is an attack vector that, especially in these corona times, we've seen more and more authoritarianism by the government, and now we're seeing that we are more and more controlled by systems that can be completely hijacked. It's actually a very scary thing. 6529 is worried that the world is sleepwalking into high centralization systems with literally nobody pushing the other side of the equation. China is already over the transom, and sadly USA and EU are headed in the same direction. We see this. We see conversations about programming the future CBDCs so that they can only get spent on certain goods, or that you can't buy more than this many dollars of alcohol. Whatever the prescription is from the government, they tell you soon what you can do, where you can eat, where you can drink, where you can sleep, and what you can think. So what do our JPEGs have to do with this? A, they are decentralized. They are constitutionally protected free speech. They can represent the nuance of the world, which is non-fungible, not fungible. They can be used to build decentralized social organization. Now D is where things get very interesting. So here he puts out this map, which I actually think is quite cool, which essentially shows here we are in 2020, and here we have this path to 2030. Where we are right now is we're moving past collectibles into art, and then we're going to hit gaming. I've been telling you about gaming. Gaming is where NFTs go totally mainstream, but then of course, this is the first mainstream consumer product. Eventually, we'll have more sort of hardcore, serious use cases, obviously brands and culture, but then we get metaverse, off-chain assets, off-chain governance, the deed to your house, the ability to vote, the possession of very important rights and access, those types of things, especially as smarter cities and IoT technology starts to exist all around us. Protecting those assets in the form of a non-fungible token makes total sense. I want the thoughts that are expressed by 6529, one of the most prolific NFT investors and clearly a thought leader that you must be following here to understand the gravity, the importance of the NFT and how it will affect our society. As Bitcoin touches 50K again for the first time in a month, what we see is that the market is preparing for an all-out explosion. And we see this one category leading the way, which means that retail FOMO is back and better than ever. Strap in, October is here, and we're gonna guide you through the absolute best ways to profit from this movement. And if you love making insane gains from crypto, then all you have to do is smash that like button and subscribe. Now, before we go into my strategies here, the efficient strategies that I'm going to employ here, I want to point out that on a day when the SEC is investigating Circle, which is a Goldman Sachs-backed stablecoin issuer that is actually the issuer of USDC, we're seeing pumping in the markets. This is as mainstream markets are experiencing a lackadaisic sag. We're seeing a massive amount of FOMO. We're seeing non-correlation in crypto, and that is a beautiful thing to see. It's exactly what we came to crypto for, a safe haven asset. The question here is, will BTC break macro consolidation pattern outlined below, or will we once again get shoved down? What Raul is saying is, look here, if you see this sort of falling trend line, if we break through it and then retest as support, we would most likely hit a very, very healthy seam of price appreciation. And so what we know for sure is that these things can take some time to play out, but we have multiple sources here calling for a BTC macro flagging structure, looking like it wants to break out in a bull flag structure here. This is representing a period of extended consolidation. Overall, this flag represents reaccumulation. A breakout from this market structure should proceed to new macro uptrend for Bitcoin. This is what everyone's been calling, is that this is printing up towards the end of the year, and we've been giving you the keys, not just to wait around and twiddle your thumbs, but literally making multi-100x gains against ETH as ETH is going up multi-x's. So in US dollar value, it's like hundreds and hundreds of x's, maybe even thousands of x's gains in US dollar value that we've been giving you in NFT land, way more alpha than any other channel here on YouTube. And when this pattern breaks out in Bitcoin and you're sitting on a massive amount of Ethereum that you've gotten from making amazing bets in NFT land, that is the absolute freedom maker where people can totally change their lives. Today we're going to be talking about the single most requested topic that I get asked to discuss here on this channel, which is of course how to find the next 100x gem. We're going to be digging not only in the mainstream crypto markets but across the NFT markets, and I'm going to be showing you my research habits, my thought process, and how I arrive at finding the absolute best possible projects to invest into that might not be readily apparent to the masses. This is how you get ahead and stay ahead, is by being the first to the party and being able to hold on to some of the best projects in the entire business. Now, first off, I want to share with you the real alpha. The real alpha is that most people will spend their entire day scrolling through this chart right here. They'll look for big green numbers and they'll expect that what they're looking at is a high quality project. If it goes up, it must be good. But what you'll come to find out, especially in extremely bullish periods like the one we're about to experience, is that these big green numbers are oftentimes ships that have already sailed. The reason is that there is a herd mentality in crypto, and you're either following the herd or you're leading the herd. And in order to lead the herd, you need to develop a thesis. Now we'll talk about how you develop a thesis, and it does take some time to accomplish this. Now obviously if you're new, it might be a little harder, but reviewing the use case and utility is huge. If you can make sense of this, and this is a digestible concept that seems to you that it's both innovative and breakthrough in some way and needs to be tokenized on the blockchain, or that the blockchain can add some massive value to the end user, to the industry as a whole, then the use case and utility, especially if it's a first mover or an early mover, can be a huge green flag. And finally, the team in combination with the community are the most important things for me. Community strength will get any project through any kind of tough period and into a period of prosperity. The team, if they have the perseverance, if they have the ability to communicate the message to the world and build the tribe of believers, there is nothing that can stop that project, nothing at all. A lot of people think that crypto's already really big. They already think that Bitcoin's already really expensive, and they don't understand how tiny it is compared to traditional markets. Here's a visualization for you of the global stock markets, and here is crypto, just a small fraction. And what you need to understand is that there is a velocity. When new money comes into Bitcoin, there's only a certain amount of Bitcoin being sold. And so as that new money comes in, it starts buying up the Bitcoin in price. As it does that, it tends to send the price up. And we all know about Bitcoin, there's a lot of hodlers who take their money off of the exchange. And so essentially the liquid supply of Bitcoin gets smaller and smaller over time, sending the price per coin way up. And so there is a multiplier effect on Bitcoin as well as all other cryptos, where it's estimated that for every $1 of new capital, about $25 to $50 of market cap are created. So if all of this market cap, which I do believe eventually comes into crypto, I believe it all gets tokenized in some way or another eventually. And what we're going to see is all this new capital is actually going to create multiplicative exponential effects. I don't believe that 2 trillion just becomes 93 trillion over time. You don't add them together. I do believe that we will see hundreds of trillions, if not quadrillions in market cap by the time this tokenization takes effect. In my mind, the model is about 100x when industries go on to the blockchain. We've seen the growth from brick and mortar to internet, from Web 1 to Web 2, from Web 2 to Web 3. That's why I have a $10 trillion market value on the gaming industry here in NFT and crypto land, because I believe that the $100 billion market will 100x to 10 trillion. Now, I also believe that the entire crypto markets will see unheard of numbers that we couldn't even fathom before because of the dark magic that is market caps. And that's the only way we really calculate the value of crypto right now. So understand that as this comes into this, I see both of these numbers becoming completely irrelevant. That's how early we are, and that's the perspective of the day. The crypto markets are heating up once again, just as predicted here in October, and we have gotten some massive green flags out of the place you might least expect it. This as the leverage ratio is getting lower and hodlers are refusing to sell. We have set the stage for a glorious Q4 bull run, and we're going to be giving you the absolute best plays in the industry. We're going to be starting here with some on-chain analysis, because what we know is that when the big holders, those big wallets, are refusing to sell, that's when we get a supply supply shock. That's why we've been talking about on-chain throughout this entire bearish period, because when the big holders keep accumulating despite price fluctuations to the downside, what we see is that smart money's buying when scared money's selling. And that usually leads eventually to a supply shock, because once the prices start moving up and the big holders are refusing to sell into that FOMO, what do we get? More demand with less supply, and that creates a supply shock where the actual price just starts going up like crazy. And for more macro technical analysis, we have here Rect Capital himself coming in with a Bitcoin weekly chart showing you how we flipped this descending trend line into support here, or not really, we haven't come down and tested it yet, but we can see that we are well above this prior trend line here that had been keeping us down since mid-March. But once again, the road to Valhalla is long and winding, and is never the case that we will be without the risk of a massive dump. That's what my video the other day was about, because leverage ratios were reaching unstable territory, and once again, we're seeing a return to greed in the market where we had extreme fear before. I want you to go back and line up the times in the market where there has been extreme fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and line those up with price bottoms on the Bitcoin chart, or at least local bottoms. It is very consistent that when there is extreme fear, that is when you see the best price action occur, when everybody's super scared. It's just the case. The real reason is probably that the Bitcoin whales engineer a lot of this FUD so they can take your coins. I know a lot of people don't maybe believe that, but that's what's going on. If you want to get an article published on Forbes, CNBC, BBC, the rest of them, you can pay for that. You can slip it in. There is a price tag on everything. And so if you believe that there's not enough reward in manipulating $1 trillion market to get a few news articles published about something that may or may not be true in China, then you are drinking the wrong Kool-Aid here, because that is super likely to happen. In fact, it happens all the time. So just know that when all these FUD storms hit, it gets my eyebrows raised, and I always tend to get very bullish. A lot of people probably thought I was crazy throughout this bearish period, saying that that was what was making me bullish. But now you'll understand, having been through these cycles, that when the FUD hits all at the same time from every direction and the price dumps, those are usually the moments where you feel like, maybe there's some big money trying to take advantage of the little guy. And what I've seen over the last 4.5 years being full-time crypto is that that is most certainly the case.